Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, get nerdy, and get
nurtured.
Yay! Welcome. Welcome, everybody.
I am Alyssa, aka the IRL support main, and I am the creator of Nurtured Nerds. I'm having some technical issues with my video, but I have a picture of me, so that's me. I play video games. I love role playing. I love fantasy and sci-fi and a lot of nerdy shows and books and movies that go along with that. And I am a cuddle nerd. I am a cuddle therapy practitioner, or also known as platonic touch therapy practitioner, meaning that I offer services of safe touch for people that may be wanting and needing that for their mental, emotional, physical well-being. And I've also been trained in shamanic energy medicine, so I offer services around that as well, and creating ceremony and sacred space. And it's been a really wonderful learning experience. It's been about a year since I started that, and I'm happy to be here and nerd out about travel. We haven't done much of that at Nurtured Nerds so far, so it'll be fun to delve into this.
I agree. I'm Crystal. I'm from Pittsburgh. I am here co-hosting and being grateful to be a part of the Nurtured Nerds community. I do professional cuddling or cuddle therapy or platonic touch therapy here in Pittsburgh. I'm building community and hosting group events, and I am definitely nerdy about psychology and cuddling, and very grateful to continue that path, and grateful to keep learning about myself and sharing my mental health journey so that, hopefully others can kind of get some awesomeness from it. And so I'm excited to be here and pass along to other introductions. Mary, would you like to?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mary, currently in Boquete, Panama. So yeah, relevant to our topic today. I do love to travel. I am a nerd about that. I have done professional cuddling and cuddle parties in the past. I haven't been doing them here. I've been trying to decide if that's something I want to do here, but it's a journey. So yeah, I've still been connected to my communities back home in Salt Lake, and that's been good to give them support remotely. So I can definitely speak to remote connections when you're traveling. Yeah, so I would say I am a travel nerd. I'm a cuddle nerd. I am a gaming nerd adjacent. I like some games. I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore gamer, but it's fun. And I don't know, I'm a nerd about a lot of little things. I've been recently getting back into some fantasy books. That's been fun. Yeah. We do have a panelist today, but we'll introduce her in just a minute. Why don't you give us a summary, Crystal, of what we're doing today?
I would love that. I would love that. And of course, welcome everyone. This is our Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast. Here in this podcast, we love to explore and celebrate all things nerdy and cuddly. Today on this episode, this magically 26th episode, which is amazing and mind-blowing. We're really going to nerd out today on travel. And we're going to have a panel of awesome humans all here to talk a little bit about some of our adventures. We're also going to talk about things nerdy and cuddly always, and what's going on for the Nurtured Nerds community. We always have raffles going on, talk a little bit about gaming stuff. Let's see here. We have a chance to win a care package. And of course, if you're watching or listening to this, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give us a like. You'll always know when we kind of have something new on the agenda. You're welcome to share with your friends. That would always help us spread those good vibes. Love it. And let us know what you think. We love feedback. Let us know how you gamify your wellness, because that's something we really love to focus on and discuss in future episodes. And of course, we would love to introduce the wonderful and amazing mama over here, Miss Faeryn.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much
Hi.
for having me on today. I have a tiny little one on me right now, so if she makes some noises, I apologize. She's waking up from her nap.
Demonstrating cuddling while doing
I
your
am
life.
demonstrating cuddling. You're totally right. She
Great.
loves this carrier. Normally she stays asleep really well in it, but she's awake right now. But yeah, I am such a huge nerd for traveling and cuddling as well. I am also a cuddle practitioner, platonic touch professional, and I am just a nerd around touch in general. I'm a massage therapist. I've been a massage. Can't call myself a massage therapist my whole life, but I've been in love with massage, in love with touch my whole life. Ever since I was like a young girl, my dad would put me to sleep by doing little tickle massages down my back. And I just paid that forward and would massage friends and camp counselors and even my parents. I'd crawl into bed with them and massage them in the morning. So massage as a profession just was a perfect fit for me. And so that's one aspect of what I do. I'm also a professional performer and circus artist. And also like a science nerd. I graduated from Santa Barbara with a BS in biopsychology and just got so into the workings of the human mind, like the physical. Biopsychology is the physiology of our minds. And oh my gosh, we're walking miracles, everybody. It's incredible. The more you dive into that, the more incredible our existence really is. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Nice. Thanks for joining us today to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, let's have our tea time, our tea moments, or whatever anyone is drinking. Let's share it. I am drinking tea as usual. It's a ginger peach turmeric tea from Bigelow, and I really enjoy it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. As we're recording, it is after 8 p.m. my time, so I'm drinking sleepy time tea.
Sleepy time extra, so it's extra strength.
Yeah, it's got chamomile and valerian and spearmint.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And water, of course.
Always. I'm drinking some matcha tea out of my Cozy Goat coffee shop mug that I just got in Colorado. I was on a little adventure myself, and so very exciting. Matcha is my favorite thing. It makes me very calm. So love it. Always drinking that.
Yeah.
I had matcha earlier. I had my matcha tea earlier.
Yes, I was just about to ask what you were drinking.
Drinking baby smell right now.
Drinking in that wonderful scent.
Yeah, good baby juju.
Yeah. And how old is your little one?
She's 2.5, almost 3 months.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I know.
What a blessing.
Whether she goes back to sleep.
Well, let's see. What have we got going on here? We're going to talk about travel today. So, what's our first question? Who wants to go?
All right.
Who wants to tell like their background of travel? Let's start with that. Maybe like what's your experience with like just a general short overview, how you think of travel or what you do. Faeryn, would you like to start? Sounds like you might travel with your work as a performer.
I did do a bit of travel. I've done some travel, and actually I'm trying to think. My years, you know how years go. Anyways, recently, in a recent year, I traveled to Germany and performed at a festival in Germany, and then traveled further to south of Italy and performed and taught for a little flow festival in Italy. And for those who don't know what flow is, it's a whole body of different kinds of prop manipulation. If you've ever seen hula hoops, that's my particular brand of flow, my main thing. But there's many, many more props. And so there was a whole festival, little flow festival dedicated to this art form. And I went to the south of Italy and performed and taught there. But I guess my travels started when I was pretty young. My parents were really good about taking the family on trips. So I think I was, oh my gosh, maybe 3 or 4 when my family took a trip around England and France. And then oh my gosh, my brother went and lived in Israel for a little while. And so I think I was in high school. Yeah, I was around, my brother was quite a bit older than me. I'd say was, because he has actually since passed in 2017. But before he passed, he had a really incredible, vibrant life. And one of the things he loved to do was travel as well. And he spent a number of years in Israel. My family is Jewish. So in Judaism, that's called making aliyah, moving back to the homeland. And as a family, we visited him there twice. And I fell in love with especially Tel Aviv. If you are an avid traveler, I definitely would put Tel Aviv on your bucket list. It's a gorgeous city, very young and bopping and just vibrant city. It's really, really awesome spot. And then I did a huge trip by myself as soon as I graduated college, and started in Amsterdam. Another one of my favorite cities. Oh my God, I love Amsterdam. In fact, the first place I took my partner, who had never been outside of the country, I just was like, babe, you've got to see Amsterdam. And so I finagled for us to go to Amsterdam after that Germany-Italy trip last year, or about 2 years ago now. I just basically threw a bunch of my own finances at it to make it happen. And I was like, babe, you are seeing Amsterdam. It's one of my favorite cities on this planet. I want to live there. Honestly, I would love to live there. It's a little cold coming from California, but it's beautiful. So yeah, my year-long, I did a year-long trip after college. It started in Amsterdam, and I went to Italy. I went to Thailand. I loved Thailand. That's the next place I'm going to take my partner, is Thailand. And I just kind of bopped all around Asia, basically. And even found my way down to Australia and traveled around Australia. Didn't yet make it to New Zealand, though. Got to see New Zealand. My parents have been to New Zealand twice, actually, now, because we have family in Australia. And so they will go to Australia and then come over to New Zealand. I'm so jealous, because that's just a gorgeous country that I really want to see. But yeah. And then, also been a little bit to Central America. Traveled in Peru and Guatemala. I can't wait to go back. And actually, Costa Rica. Last thing I'll say is there's a festival in Costa Rica called Envision. I've been a few times, performed there a few times, and that's that country. I mean, what a dream life. I would live in Costa Rica in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Sounds Envision.
Just hearing you share about your experiences was very nourishing for me. It feels like it's a very life-giving kind of thing for you, traveling and just engaging with the energy of all these different places, but they each have these really unique things to offer that enrich your soul and your life, and it's just beautiful. I love it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I forgot to include in that list India. On that year-long trip, I went to India, and gosh, that place just challenges you, but it nourishes you as well. There's this richness of living in India that I can't wait to go back also. I need to make more money. I want to travel more. Gotta make some more money.
That's one of our questions is, how do we fund our travel?
How do you fund your travels? That's a really good question. I was honestly, to be in full frankness, traveling on an inheritance. My grandmother had passed, and I took my inheritance, and I did that year-long trip. I have traveled since that inheritance has been used up, but I think that was a unique moment for me. The feeling that I could just kind of go anywhere and do whatever I wanted. So yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
This brings up for me a topic that I think we've mentioned a few times on the podcast of doing cuddle tours, basically, or I'm not sure what kind of term you want to use for it, but where you make plans to cuddle with different people in different places, and so you travel to them, and that could be maybe worked into that question a little bit of how you can fund your travels, is that could maybe supplement it a little bit.
Yes, I'm very much in agreement with that. I think that cuddle tours, we've known a couple people, Sam Varnon that has kind of traveled around and cuddled. And I think that especially since there's such a beautiful community all across the country and the world, I honestly still would love to make space for that in my future. The idea of just traveling around to where other cuddlers are, so that even if it's just a cuddle tour between cuddlers, like creating kind of either events or community that way, that and not only with clients, but also having that safe space of the extended family, if you will. So I love that.
Crystal, do you have a story of your history with travel?
Oh yeah, I absolutely have been very, very called to travel most of my life. I feel like my dad was in the Navy, so we kind of moved around a bit as a child, or when I was a child, and I kind of missed a giant opportunity when my parents split. My dad moved to Japan, and so I look back on that and have a bit of sadness because I didn't end up in Japan for a short period. When I was a child, of course, I was like, no, 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 that'd be horrible, missing my friends and whatnot. But I got to travel around with my grandparents as a kid often, even across the country to New Mexico to see the Grand Canyon, to see family. We did I'd say a decent amount of travel, and then it seemed to fall off throughout my early adulthood. Having kids kind of slowed it down. A lot of just life happened, and I felt very attached and kind of stuck in Pittsburgh. And it's ironic, or I guess coincidental, that cuddling is what brought me back to traveling. Since I became a professional cuddler, and pretty much from day one, even before I was seeing clients, I traveled to Portland, Oregon for training. I traveled to California twice for training, Portland twice, actually, Chicago twice, actually, for training, and have since just really, really been able to do a lot more traveling. Not a lot out of the country yet, certainly in my goal and soon to be Panama City. And so I'm very excited to see Mary and expand my circle of love. But yeah, it's funny because cuddling is what brought me to really, really take hold of myself, really honor myself, and really just say, let's go explore, let's let go of fear. And, it is such a empowering spiritual thing, even to be a professional cuddler. And Faeryn, something that really resonated when you spoke was the concept of like performing while traveling and having like a purpose while traveling. And so I found that volunteering, which is what I did for the Cuddle Expo, really does kind of save me some money. Like finding ways to navigate expense can be interesting. And so, I found that some of the best times I've traveled were not necessarily full on vacations,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah. Alyssa, do you want to share your connection?
Sure. I think for me, travel represents a lot of unfulfilled potential in my life. I have a lot of desire there, but I haven't had nearly as many experiences. Maybe it's more of like the experiences of travel that I've had have felt more like an appetizer that kind of, whetted my appetite, made me want to travel even more. I did a bit when I was younger. I think it's kind of similar to you, Crystal, that a lot of that fell away more in early adulthood. And it was just, we've touched on this too. It's that financial resource. But I'm at this point in my life now where I have the resources to be able to travel. And so it's more of making that shift in who I see myself to be, how I see my life, that it's like now I can see myself as someone who travels, but I haven't fully owned that and fulfilled on that yet. So this is it's very synchronistic for me that this is something I'm wanting to embark on, and this is our discussion today.
I love how you said that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I love how you said that you were changing your identity in your own head to say, I am somebody who travels. That really dovetails perfectly with this book I'm reading called Atomic Habits. I really recommend it. And he says that a really powerful way to implement change in your life is to change your identity. And you can literally do that by just how you speak to yourself. And so I've literally been doing that in my head. I'll say, I am somebody who wakes up and meditates in the morning. I might not believe it when I say it, but then I get up and I meditate in the morning and I'm like, oh, look at that. So that's just really perfect that you're doing that you're changing the way you speak about yourself. And that can start a new habit and a new pattern. And I also want to say on the financial level, totally depends on where you go, but I was truly amazed at how little money it took to travel in some of the places I was traveling. Thailand, I mean, okay, this was about 10 years ago, but Thailand was very inexpensive to travel in. Even Costa Rica and Central and South America, very inexpensive places to travel. And I think I always had this idea in my head that you needed like $10,000 to do a trip abroad. That's not really the case. You know, you can do quite a lot on even just about $5,000. Still big chunk of money, but it doesn't have to be quite as prohibitive, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that resonated for me too, Alyssa, when you said I am a person who travels. Like that's what I'm doing in my head now too, of like, yeah, I am a person who travels. Because yeah, I'm trying to figure out how much I'm gonna be traveling and where's gonna be my home base. And I kind of have the opposite story. We didn't travel when I was young at all. Even though my dad was in the Navy, we were stationed in San Diego for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but then and then as an adult, I did a lot of road tripping around the Western United States, car tripping, and then, yeah, I travel a lot as an adult. I would do like one trip a year for 2 weeks, and I always wanted to go somewhere warm to get out of Utah in winter. So I did a lot through Central America, Mexico, Guatemala. I did a bunch of cruises. We did do 2 Europe trips. I've been to Paris and England and Rome, but that was a long time ago. Yeah, and I've been through Costa Rica and Panama now lately. Those have been my priorities. But yeah, I love to travel and see things, and there's so many more things on my list I want to do. And I think of it as kind of talking about it in this context is just another way to connect with the world, with humanity. One of the really special people that comes to my cuddle events, she always says that I am enamored with humanity. And I was like, that's how I feel when I travel. Like, I find people are people everywhere, and it's amazing to just realize that, just that we all can connect because we all have such commonalities. And yeah, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You can make choices to be able to travel on a budget. There's definitely ways that it can be done, and finding opportunities like volunteering, or there's a lot of opportunities out there where you don't necessarily need a ton of money to travel. Yeah.
Actually, on that, I wanted to quickly say, it answers both of the things you just were talking about. If you don't know what couch surfing is, couchsurfing.com, is it .com or .org? Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Might be .org. But if you type in couch surfing, it should pop up as a top result. I used couch surfing a lot when I was traveling, and there's 2 beautiful things about this. The first is that it introduces you to locals. You're finding somebody who's taking you. So the idea, I should probably introduce what this is. This is like Airbnb, but you don't pay. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, you're probably staying on somebody's couch, so that's why it's too good to be true. But sometimes you actually are staying in their guest bedroom. I had a whole range of different arrangements basically that would happen when I did couch surfing, but it always was just the best experience. I would meet a local who was so excited to show me the unseen spots, the off the beaten track spots, the spots that only the locals know about, right? And so you get to know the real what's happening in that area that you're traveling. You're not staying in some fancy resort, kind of away from what's actually going on in that location. And yeah, just so much richness. There's so many stories I could go into on just couch surfing. So one, you get to meet the people and the culture and see the sights that maybe other people don't get to see. And 2, you do get to save money. You are not spending money on your accommodations. You might even be fed. So often, I cannot tell you how many times this person is opening their home to you, a complete stranger, and then is overjoyed to feed you sometimes multiple days in a row. You know, they want to show you this dish, or they want to cook you breakfast in the morning. Like just unbelievable, the generosity of people. So check out Couchsurfing. It's truly an incredible community, worldwide community.
That's amazing. I not only have had an interest in couch surfing throughout my life, but I've actually had a little bit of a trepidation or a little bit of a, concern about safety. And I would love to, it's funny because that kind of leads into the question I was hoping to ask, which is, I would love to hear about some of your, most standout moments for maybe a culture shock or a safety or just what stands out to you when you enter a new area, maybe some memorable moments. And of course, anybody can chime in, but Faeryn, I was certainly thinking of the couch surfing, the safety, and perhaps something that has happened in your history.
So this didn't happen through couch surfing, but my favorite story to tell of my travels happened in India, in the northern part of India, in Kashmir. There's a longer story here, but basically I ended up at a train station without a train ticket. I was told by my previous host, I think he was just I was paying to stay there, and I think he was just trying to get me to go along. And anyways, he just lied to me, straight bold-faced lied, and said that, don't worry, you can get your train ticket when you get to the train station. Now, if you ever travel India, do not do that. Get your train ticket days before, a week possibly, before you get to the train station, because the trains get booked, especially to popular places. And I was next going to Agra to see the Taj Mahal. So I get to the train station. I'm way off the beaten track. Okay, I won't go into how I ended up there, but I am in a place with no other white people, no other people that could speak English even. And I buy the wrong train ticket. I end up buying a train ticket that is for the lowest class. And essentially on those train cars, it's really standing room only. There's like animals and every flavor of humanity traveling in that train car, and you can't sleep. Somebody will pickpocket you or steal your stuff. So I wasn't going to use that train car. When I realized what I had done, wasn't going to do that. So I'm going around trying to ask people for help. And this one woman says, "Oh, I can't help you, but maybe my cousin," they always call everybody in their family cousins, probably not her exact cousin, but my cousin, he's about to come back, he can help you. Plus her English wasn't really great. His English was amazing. He worked in Delhi and his English was passing. So he looks at my ticket and says, no way, this is the lowest class ticket, you don't want this. Come with me, I'll show you the correct counter where you want to get your ticket. We go there and find out there isn't another ticket to Agra that's available, another seat available for 5 days. I didn't mention this, but this particular train station was located inside of a slum. A slum fully wrapped around this train station. It's now dark outside, and if I'm going to stay in this train station or leave, either way is a horrible prospect. I can't leave this train station and walk through the slum. I'm traveling alone, white woman traveling alone. I'm going to walk through the slum into this city. I was a city I hadn't been to, where I had traveled from another city to the city to use the train station there. So I knew nothing about this city. I didn't have a smartphone. I had no way of finding accommodations. So anyways, I just kind of like go into shock standing there at this counter, and I turn and I sit down at a chair next to the counter and just start sobbing, just crying, because it's that moment where I realized I bit off a bigger bite than I can chew and I need help. And I literally called out to my guides and I was like, guides, I need help. I'm a spiritual person. I believe I have spiritual guides who help me out. And so I called out to them. In that moment, this wonderful young man, his name was Rati, but Ricky for English speakers. Ricky turns to me and he says, "Come with me. Come with my family. We'll take you and you can come stay with us." Total stranger. He's met me 5 minutes before. So I go with him to where he's sitting on the platform with his aunties. We get a ticket to where he's going with his family. Not anywhere close to Agra, but it's okay. It's somewhere where I'm going to go and be cared for, basically. And yeah, I get adopted by this Indian family for like a week, basically, and fed just the most exquisite Indian food. Like, oh my God, I can't even explain how they are making this food in their little kitchens. But yeah, it was just one of those moments that I felt so held by humanity, like the goodness of humanity. And it wasn't couch surfing per se, but it definitely was the moment of the highest moment of fear in my year-long trip. It was a moment that I really felt like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? And then Ricky saved the day, and he still reaches out to me every year. He reaches out for my birthday, and he now has 2 young daughters. He's still living in Delhi, and he's just an absolute sweetheart. So yeah.
That's magic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that just reminds me of an experience I had. I wasn't quite in a lonely situation that you were, but just the amazing friendliness of people and the trusting of people. Like, I met a family here in Las Lajas, which is a small beach town. They were there celebrating Christmas together. It was for the new year. And I was just walking on the beach and I met them, and they were like, yeah, come hang out with us, come talk to us. And they like said, let's have dinner and we're your Panamanian family. I met there was like 20 of them, the grandma and all the kids and the cousins, and we talked to them for like 4 hours and hang out, and they're like, yes, take pictures, come back because we're your family. And I'm like, oh, this is so great.
Wow.
And I'm still connected with them. That was just a few months ago. Yeah, there's just and even the lady who comes to clean my house has become a really good friend. She was highly recommended, and she's come to cook for me, and she's taken me to meet her family and hang out and do fun things. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. And I always like to look for the locals. I want to find out how do the locals live? Because, if I'm just going to try to recreate America, what's the point of traveling? I don't like to really spend the time in resorts or, tourist towns. I like to go into town and figure out like, okay, well, where do the locals hang out? Where do they like to eat? And what's the real place?
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah. Wonderful how friendly people are. And just, it being from the United States, I think we are told that we're supposed to be so cynical and untrusting, and it's just not like that out in other places around the world. People trust, and people are friendly, and people want to share, and it's amazing to experience that in my experience that I've had. It sounds like yours too. So
yeah, definitely.
I love that. That makes me feel very good as somebody who's had personal concerns about traveling alone before, or personal thoughts about, whether it's safe to do that or not. So I really love hearing that. And it gives me a lot more excitement and hope about my future endeavors.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, be mindful of your safety always at all times as much as you can, but also do have that level of faith and trust in others. Like, it's people will blow you away. It's incredible. Yeah,
absolutely.
I feel like this is a good point to address a question that I'm really glad Geeta included in here, which was, let's talk about self-care around traveling. What are things that each of you have done or maybe didn't do, or what have you developed for yourself to keep in a state of good self-care while traveling?
Well, I kind of like what Faeryn just said of like, yes, we do need to think about safety, but there's some common sense things you can do, like don't wear a lot of jewelry, keep your money on the inside, don't put your stuff in the trunk, don't leave it out on the beach when you go swimming. If you do common sense stuff like that, you're probably going to be fine. Yeah, and trusting people has really worked for me. And I've traveled alone, but I've traveled in company too. And of course, there's bad people out there, but there's just such a small percentage of the population. 99.99% of people out there are at least going to be, indifferent to you. But most of them are going to be friendly, like we are. We're friendly. We want to meet people. We want to connect. We want to show them our home. Yeah. So, and the self-care things of like finding a routine. and connecting with people back home so you don't lose that. That's one of the things I'm struggling with right now, of how to keep that going. So doing this podcast helps me. Sorry, I just kind of stepped in on that question. Anybody else want to answer?
I'm trying to think. I'm such an embodied person. I'm very physical, and I also my body has demands. Is how I would put it. I need to stretch and do self-massage on myself on a daily, or not daily, but just regular, as often as possible. Otherwise, I get some serious imbalances that turn into pretty bad nerve pain. So for me, I bring with me everywhere that I go a pair of massage balls. It's like a little peanut, like two balls that are joined. I recommend them to all my massage clients, actually just to people in general. If you want to do a good thing for your body, go type in massage balls on Amazon or wherever you get your stuff, and get yourself a set. I love how compact and easily they travel with me. How compact they are and how easily they travel with me, because I can throw them in a backpack. I can use them. Gosh, sometimes I just get down on the floor of the airport terminal and just like roll out my body. I'm that weirdo that doesn't mind stretching and doing self-care stuff in front of other people. But yeah, I think for me, that's a really big self-care element, is just making sure that I'm continuing my stretching and continuing to do self-massage so that my body is happy, especially after like spending a lot of time in planes and buses and stuff like that.
Cool. Any other comments on the self-care?
I was going to say, to Faeryn's stretching in front of people, I have no problem doing that as well. And I think my maybe oddest form of self-care is I always bring this guy with me everywhere. He's my Care Bear from childhood, and it may sound completely nuts, but he is like my little, I just did a retreat, and I've realized he's my little Ganesh red Bindu protector. He is like, he's in some ways, he's got some of my guardian energy in him, and actually in them. This is a trans Care Bear, and so I often this is one of the only Care Bears in the Forest of Feelings that has been a male and a female, and so I'm very grateful to own lots of heart. This is lots of heart.
Wow.
So this is my self-care one, and I actually cuddle this I cuddle this angel every night, and then I do take them with me for any adventure where I've got a little trepidation. So if I'm doing a ceremony or I'm doing a retreat that requires a little more vulnerability, the Cuddle Expo, I took this baby doll. And when I'm without my beautiful children, because they are kind of my guardians as well, and my anchors as well. So this kind of keeps me connected. So that's my self.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah. Good time.
That brings up two topics for me. I don't know. Maybe the first one should be like, what's your essential packing list? Because I know for me, when I figured out how to go minimal with my packing, that really helped my travel get way more enjoyable. So I travel with two carry-ons that actually fit under the airplane seats if I have to put them there. So I can still have them with me. They never have to get gate checked. I don't have to give up my stuff. I can carry it on my shoulders myself, and it's not like a huge ordeal to pull my stuff through the airport. So when I figured that out, that has helped me a lot. And so I put all my media on my laptop and my iPad, and I have my one craft that I like to bring. It's usually cross stitch, because that's so easy. That's compact and easy to take. I do that on the plane. That's one of my self-care things. And then I just take like 4 or 5 days worth of clothes and wash them. And then I have my little list of stuff. Like I need my nail scissors and my nail clippers, and and I have a list that I look at in my sunscreen. But yeah, so having the list developed has helped me a lot. Do you guys have tricks like that have helped you have a good travel experience?
No, I'm a chronic overpacker. I'm so bad. It's
Yeah.
so embarrassing. Yeah, I'm the absolute opposite. I'm like listening to you. I'm like, God, that sounds so nice. I'm just terrible. I that trip around to Europe, to Germany and Italy and stuff. I had two full-size suitcases. Now, the second one was because I had brought with me a large boombox to do street performance with. I spent more money on the extra bag fees, taking that from place to place, than I spent on the actual speaker, and certainly more than I actually made street performing. That was so dumb. It was so dumb, so stupid. And then I'm hauling around two suitcases. It was so bad. Yeah. So I'm gonna take a page out of your book, Mary. That sounds way better.
Yeah.
I feel very resonant with Faeryn's share there, because I'm unfortunately a chronic overpacker. I have started to learn to minimalize. I've also started to learn the technique of wearing, and I do actually attribute this to Gita, to wearing a lot of items on me so that I can not stress about like having extra clothes. And so I'm really continuing every trip to learn how to minimalize, but it is been a challenge most of my life. I'll be candid. So I love this movie. I love this.
Yeah. Yeah. And coming here, because I knew I was going to be here for 6 months, I did bring, well, in two different trips, I brought, but the first trip I brought one full-size suitcase, and the second trip I brought two full-size suitcases for 6 months.
That's
Yeah. Yeah. So traveling for a year, it definitely would get old to only have like carry-ons. Yeah. When we were in Italy, I overpacked so badly, and trying to pull our suitcases across those cobblestone streets, we broke like, my brother and I broke like two different suitcases, and we ended up like shipping a whole huge box home because we had so much extra crap. We're like, why are we hauling this stuff? It's making us miserable.
Yeah.
That's another factor, purchasing items along the way. Sometimes I've gotten into that trouble as well, where I'm like, uh-oh, now I have to bring or send stuff home, or
Yeah. Alyssa, did you have any comment?
Well, I'm definitely a chronic overpacker, so
Like the
I can
process.
relate to a lot of that. Yeah, it is I think a lot of it comes back to that, what we were touching on earlier about trusting. I've experienced a lot of patterns around anxiety and sort of this, if I don't do everything possible to take care of myself, that my needs won't be met. So it's not even necessarily this focus on like trusting people. It's like this overarching, like trusting the universe, trusting that I will be cared for, that I'll be taken care of, that I'm always taken care of. So there's a lot of anxiety tied up in that for sure. And also there's a lot of aspects of that too, of like creating all these possibilities in my mind. What if this happens, or what if that happens? So I related a lot with what you guys were saying for sure. I don't know. I guess in terms of self-care, that's been a big shift for me. Trusting more, knowing what to pack and what not to based on experience, but also taking time where I've done a couple of trips recently, and it's more of like I plan very little so that I always can take time to just be. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, and bring things with me that can help me just ground. So always bringing different kinds of tea that I might like to try, or I'll bring, like a pillow that is really comfortable, or, like pajamas that feel really soft, or, just little things like that, where I brought something that is like a gift for myself later, and something that calls me to just be present.
Yeah, I love
that. I always call that presence to future self from past self. Like when future self or past self takes care of future self, that's always nice.
I talk to myself sometimes like, future self, I hope you appreciate what I'm doing for you right now. And then I'll be like, past Mary, you sure let me down.
Right. Right. So
or when it works out, I'm like, pass Mary, thank you for taking care of me.
yeah, exactly.
So nice. Yeah.
I like that idea of tea too. That's good.
Yeah, having the tea with that you like. Yeah.
I was going to say another interesting element of self-care I'm not always good at, but I'm always happy when I do this, and that is journaling. I was really good on that year-long trip. I had a journal and I journaled a lot on that trip. But in past years, or kind of the years since, I haven't been as good as just making time to sit down and write. Actually, one of the things that I'm like a new script I'm building in my head is I am a writer, because I think it's really important for me, especially for me to write, just to process my internal state and process my life and what I'm going through. But a beautiful thing about writing on your trip is that you can remember things better. It's great with our new phones. We can take all these photos, but you might still forget, oh, where was that, exactly, or who was that person. Having a written record of what you've done can really keep the trip more fresh in your mind and be a way of just processing everything that happened.
I love that you said that, because I tend to journal on trips, and it just made me think of this page. This is a leaf from New Orleans. And
How beautiful.
It's the ancestral tree at Congo Square, and it really affected me. So I saved it. So anyway, just when you were talking, I'm like, I have this in my journal.
Yeah.
Made me think of it.
So good. So good.
I love that. And I actually often, and even on my most recent trip, attempt to be very mindful of it, but collect items, usually like if a piece of bark or tree branch or something that's on the ground. I actually was gifted one that was in the shape of a rune that I like right now. And then I also found some bark with a tree I connected very deeply to. And I love the idea of journaling, and I love the idea of kind of nature, being a part of nature, and kind of having that connection as you travel. And that does bring me to the question of, and of course this is to everyone, have you felt any mystical or magical connection while visiting any place? Now, it could be sacred or historic sites, but it could really just be connection to something there, or even your own guides, having a spiritual experience without being in a special place. And anyone who would like to share. Faeryn, would you like to go first?
I'm actually going to pass the torch. I'm going to think more about that.
Okay, of course. I love that. Alyssa or Mary, would you like to share?
Well, for me, the obvious one that shows up is Sedona. The energy there is definitely different than anywhere else I had been. I mean, the energy of everywhere is unique, really, but like that was my first experience of being aware of that, and also like having a very visceral experience of it, and just kind of building that concept up in my mind, and in an experiential way of that differing energy between places, and being somewhere that is very mindfully regarded in that way by so many, and that there's just a lot energetically dedicated to that in that area. It was just really unique for me, and I enjoyed it, and it definitely for me sparked my my desire to explore more sort of vortices, more like spiritually significant locations. Just go there, just be there.
I love that. I have that desire as well. And I'm very grateful for your share.
Yeah. I've had I've had several like that. The tree in Congo Square really affected me. I just felt like the whole history, like I felt like it was trying to tell me the history of the people there, and it's there. It was really profound, and that doesn't really happen to me a lot or hardly ever. So it was kind of a surprise, because I was like, oh, I'll go talk to the tree, sure. So I was like touching it. Like,
You weren't expecting the tree to talk back.
Yeah, I was inviting. Yeah, I wasn't really expecting it to talk back, but it did. Yeah, it was amazing. And I've felt that a few other times, like in a cruise ship out in the middle of the ocean, and you look at the stars, and it's so amazing with no light pollution. It's like, oh my gosh, it's the whole galaxy. That in the middle of the night. If you're ever on a cruise ship out in the ocean, please go out at 2 a.m. and look at the stars.
Wow.
So cool. And yeah, and being here in Central America, everything's so green and lush, and the birds are amazing every day. And I just want to drink the air. Like when you were talking about drinking baby smell, I was like, I need to drink the air here. I say that a lot. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it happens, but I do think as we need to invite it too. Like we need to be open and say, hey, what have you got to show me? What do you want to tell me of the place that you're in? I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds a little woo-woo, but it's
No, and connecting with the earth definitely in each of those areas. In nature, some way, a tree or, a stone or animals, like the earth is so old and has seen so much. So there's just a lot of wisdom there to be tapped into.
definitely.
I agree.
I'm going to answer this and then I might have to jet because my little one is awake now. She might be making some noises. Maybe both answer this. I was just going to say this. I don't know. It's hard for me to answer this because I'm just a spiritual person and I feel a lot of, I don't know, connectedness, I suppose, to source in many of the places I visit. But Burning Man really kind of stands out in my mind as a place where I've had these kind of mystical experiences. And really, when it comes to it, it's about this, I don't want to say it, collective consciousness that's happening out there. I don't know how many times you might have heard a story. If anybody knows what Burning Man is, this is my hungry. Hungry. I might have to turn my video off and maybe I can still stick around and feed her. I know she wakes up from her naps very hungry. But basically at Burning Man, it so often happens that you ask for something and then it shows up like immediately. And I've had that a few times where I just have spoken a desire aloud and like, boom, the thing that I've asked for comes out of the dust.
Wow.
So, I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to turn
Oh, you just turned off your microphone, but not your video, just so you know.
Gotta make sure that's clear. Okay.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Being out in the desert, I actually haven't made it to Burning Man, but I did a Utah festival that's out in the desert. It was kind of a similar vibe, and it's just like you get in this elemental space where it's just like dirt and people and it's heat, and it's like all you have is what you brought with you, and you're dependent on other people and what you brought, and it's just about the connection. I don't know. Yeah, it's and in fact the one here in Utah is called Element 11, so I was gonna say it's elemental. So yeah, and yeah, it's a really interesting experience. Just
that sounds very powerful.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of good Burning Man stories. Someday I'll make it.
I know I haven't made it yet either. So if anyone ever has an interest in creating a cuddle group there, I would totally go and do that.
Yeah. I think people do like little camps and create little, having a cuddle camp would be great.
Definitely.
I was going to say, I think that does exist out there, by the way. I'm sure there's actually multiple of that.
It does. It does. And one of my dreams for my retirement is to like kind of just go to festivals and have little cuddle camps.
Yes.
Just travel.
God, please do.
Yes.
Please do. Yes, please. And I was going to say before I pop off, if anybody wants to find me, my name is Faeryn Rose. My website is Faeryn Fire. So that's spelled FAERYN and then fire.com, and you can see a bit of the body art that I do, and the performance work, and the one of the troops that I have, the Mischievans, a clown troupe that I run. And then my massage work isn't on there, but you can also use that website to contact me. And I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me. This has been such a delight. Sorry, I can't be showing my face now. My sweet one is having her feed. She's very happy right now, if you can tell. But yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for this. And I'm so happy that you're talking about this, because I think it's really important for people to travel. I think it really is a beautiful way to open our minds, open our hearts, achieve personal growth. I think there's just so much richness in traveling. So thank you for having this conversation about it and encouraging others to embark.
Thanks for joining us, Faeryn. This has been great. It's really good to meet you.
Yeah, it's good to meet you guys too. Much love. Have a great rest of your episode.
Thank you.
Sending you love. Bye.
Have fun. I always love the panelists that our producer finds for us. Gita does such a great job.
Definitely.
Yeah. One of the questions we didn't get to is, when you're traveling, how do you keep your cuddle? How do you get your cuddle on? I don't usually cuddle with people I just met, but when I travel with my guy, we like to cuddle on the airplane and stuff like that. So we definitely keep in contact quite a bit. Do you guys have a cuddle position? Do you travel with your partner or with your children or other people that you would want to cuddle with while you're traveling?
That's an excellent idea. When you were first saying that, I was thinking again of cuddle tours or of like traveling somewhere that has cuddle party events. But yeah, like that could be a thing too, is doing a group cuddle tour. So it's like not even just going on your own, or maybe even one other person, like a partner. Like this just showed up for me of like, how awesome would that be? Like a world group cuddle tour. And then it's not even about, oh, you have to find people in those cities to cuddle with. You can just create your own cuddle. Like you bring the party with you, and like it can happen with or without other people, but just sharing that energy of the, like wherever you're at together.
Oh, yeah. I know. I love that.
Yeah.
I think
we've got Mile High Cuddle here. Is
definitely.
Kita's suggesting I am in the Mile High Cuddle Club.
Love it.
That's amazing. I'm not. I'm very envious. Now I'm picturing a Nurtured Nerds cuddle jet that just travels the world, and you can cuddle on your way.
That sounds amazing. Actually, that actually sounds really like something like.
So please join our community. If you have a private jet, like we would love to have you join Nurtured Nerds. No.
I think that's worth it. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. We need that.
Yeah. Crystal, you were going to say something.
What was that?
You were going to say something. Did we cut you off?
So I have traveled on a plane with partners and with my kids. My beautiful daughter, even at the age of 12, the ripe old age of 12, she will still cuddle me. Not often, not a lot, but there's times I'm able to hold her hand while we're driving, or times we're able to cuddle while watching a movie, or at night just sleep near each other sometimes. So I'm very blessed to say that. And then I, of course, have my cuddle travel companion that literally is my favorite cuddle buddy. I know that's, and I tell people that all the time, that a cuddle buddy doesn't have to be a human, and it doesn't have to even be, a sentient being. I've cuddled plants. I've rolled around in moss. I've also cuddled my animals, my wonderful kitties. And so, but interestingly enough, my ultimate goal is to do exactly what Alyssa is mentioning. I have very high hopes and a lot of notes and a lot of mental energy stoked into the idea of creating cuddle retreats that start off, again, spiraling around Pittsburgh and continuing to expand throughout the entire world. I started researching retreats, and I just went on a retreat and am attempting to navigate the idea of, if practitioners are in a certain area, I can possibly just come to them, find a retreat center near enough, and then just market to everywhere I can. So people all over the place could come, and it would be a 3-day potential thing similar to Cuddle Expo, except it would be more, intimacy focused, or potentially couple focused, or potentially just party focused, like group event, social focused. very excited about the idea of like kind of empowerment and embodiment. So like doing like dance and ecstatic dance, doing, yoga and even some shamanic healing, like adding all of those elements in. And then just kind of marketing and rocking out and trying to keep it semi-affordable and kind of an opportunity, especially for the practitioners to not spend a lot, make some money potentially, and be present with others. And then for the people coming, still, I would want it to be something that wouldn't break the bank, because as a single mom, that's something that's important to me. That's the hardest part right now, is the budgeting. But I am actually navigating and interested in continuing to push towards cuddles all across the world.
Nurtured Nerds Nation.
That's great. I love it.
No, this is exciting. So
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to seeing that unfold.
Yeah, me too.
It's already unfolding. I can feel it.
We're here. Manifesting.
Yeah.
I think you're also I don't know how to say it other than feeding. Like there's certain actions you do to feed certain destinies. And I feel like you and Gita going and visiting Mary is one of those things that's like going to fuel this continued intention.
I feel that. I'm very grateful that you think that, and I feel that energy as well. Like I definitely think that all of the steps that I slowly take and all the steps we all slowly take towards each other and towards our goals really help.
Yeah. So what do we want to tell people for, like, maybe they want to travel, but there's something holding them back, or they're worried about safety or budget, or just trying to find the time to put toward it? What should we tell people about that? What do you guys think?
I know what I would say. I definitely feel strongly that pushing through that anxiety and fears is very healthy and important, but also honoring oneself. So doing whatever it takes to feel safe, and whether that means save some money, or whether that means find a situation where a friend or a partner or someone's waiting for you on the other side. Again, couch surfing may not be for everyone. It may be a situation where you're not ready and don't feel safe. And I know that when I first started traveling, that was true. I didn't feel safe. And at this point in the game, I think a lot more, like I could handle a lot more than maybe 5 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. And so I also think that reaching out for ideas, like starting to Google retreats that you want to go try out in different areas, because you'll meet a like-minded community of friends, or finding out volunteer opportunities, places that you can help and maybe will cost a little less because of that, because you're doing some work for them. There's a lot of really fascinating, wonderful opportunities to not only meet like-minded people, but save money and be a little safer because you're with people that kind of care, And so I say, don't give up. I say, keep asking questions, keep reaching out to the universe and to the Google and to your friends, and the answer will totally come. You got this.
Yeah. Yeah, it should feel like, ooh, I want to, something's pulling me there. I mean, if you really are not ready, that's okay. It's not for everybody. And doing it the way that we do it may not be the way you want to do it, and that's fine too. Got to find the way that works for you, that gets you excited. But I do think travel really opens your mind and gets you more accepting of, and hearing different viewpoints from the whole world is just, it's mind expanding. And I think everybody should have that opportunity if it can work for you. And yeah, sometimes you just have to decide that I'm gonna do it, and then just do it because the time will go by and then you won't have that experience, and that's a lost opportunity in my mind.
Something that showed up for me recently around travel that I wanted to share around this is sort of what I learned in my last trip was be present for the trip that's happening, not the trip that you expected. Because it might look very different, but like it's whatever the trip you end up having is the trip you're meant to have. So like be in it, whatever's happening like outside for sure, but also like in you. because it can bring up a lot, at least for me, and maybe, for other people, where there's that, aspect of anxiety around traveling. It's like, it's going to bring up a lot for you, taking that leap, pushing through that, having that courage, and don't be afraid to ask for support around it. But also, like, there's so many lessons there that show up even without speaking with anyone, but just being there. So yeah, wherever you go, whatever you're doing, you'll learn from it. It'll always be the trip you're meant to have.
I agree.
Yeah. And that just reminded me something I meant to say like 4 or 5 times as everybody was talking. I'm like, traveling is so empowering because you figure out how much you can do on your own. Like Faeryn was saying, that was like her worst moment, where she's lost in the slum in the city where hardly anyone speaks English. And I mean, that's the bottom, right? And then there was a beautiful outcome of like, life is wonderful, and even though it was the worst it could possibly be, it had a wonderful outcome.
Yeah. She got to connect with those people, and if things had gone the way she expected, that connection would never have happened.
Right. Yeah, being open to asking for help, asking for connection. And she could have just sat down in a corner for 5 days in the train station and cried. But yeah, she decided to be open to what came. So yeah, that was a great story.
It was very moving. I was very, very grateful to hear that. And even her mentioning calling out to her guides, I just thought that's such a beautiful moment of surrender, if that makes sense. Open to what will be, and not, again, kind of surrendering to that moment. I think that was really powerful as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard a lot more stories like that than I've heard of like complete disaster, end of the world type story. I have to say, in my own personal experience, it usually ends up more in that area. So yeah, which is wonderful. Well, let's see, where are we at?
I think we have a cuddle pose.
We have a cuddle pose.
Yeah.
Do we have a cuddle pose?
I know Gita was mentioning one from a recent talk, but I wasn't there, so maybe you guys can fill me in on that.
Maybe a travel cuddle pose. Is that what we're thinking? That's what we want to include, something travel-y or something that would be good.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a bigger person, so I like to travel with my partner on the plane, so I don't end up accidentally cuddling with people I didn't ask.
Consent.
So yeah.
And you can put up the armrest.
Yeah, I put up the armrest, and then we kind of lock arms, we hold hands and just really lean into each other. So yeah, so I'm not like leaning over the other seat.
Yeah, maybe another tip too would be to spring for the emergency exit seats if they have more leg room.
Oh.
Or maybe get a higher class ticket than you normally would. Traveling can be stressful. Cuddles could definitely help with it.
I actually didn't like first class because there's a big table in between us.
Oh no, okay. So be aware of the layout of the plane. Yeah.
Because we're used to touching, and I was like, I can't touch you, you're so far away. Yeah, it was funny because we're like, oh yeah, we got a first class. Like, that was not fun. Yeah, weird. I like Comfort Plus because it does have a little more leg room. Yeah, that's my favorite.
The cuddle plane. I'm still envisioning it.
Yeah, we need a cuddle plane for sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm just picturing couches with like multiple like seat belts across them so you could lay down but then be secure.
Oh yeah, good idea.
That'd be perfect. Yeah, let's do our promos and then we'll do our checkout. Alyssa, would you care to read the promos for us, please?
Of course.
That'd be great.
Well, as always, we have our website, nurturednerds.com, and our YouTube channel, which is where this podcast is going to be posted. So look for us on YouTube. What else? We have free membership. You can join at any time and you can receive a care package. We will raffle that soon. I don't know if we have the date yet. Do we have that?
I think we just had one, right? Didn't we just have a raffle?
Wait, who won that?
Every 3 months. So
Crystal won the raffle?
No, it was Serena. It was Serena. She's an amazing human. And she won, and I think she may know. I think I may need to still reach out to her. I'm trying to think if she responded yet. But yes, I am letting her know, and I'm sending her Mary's book, and I'm very excited too.
Yay! I love getting Mary's book when I first received it too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I have the paper copy.
Yes. It was really nice having the paper copy of the book. I don't know.
It's on Amazon, but you cannot, buy it on Amazon. When I lived in Utah, it's better to order it directly from me, but not here. I don't have them here to ship out.
Okay.
But you can buy them on Amazon. Yeah,
definitely. Yep. Art of Authenticity, How to Be You.
Yeah.
All right. So our next raffle is going to be in 3 months. When was the most recent one?
I think it was last month, I want to say, or this.
Okay.
Very recent.
Pretty recent, yeah.
Yeah. So in about 3 months.
All right.
Oh, the last 2 weeks, he's saying. So, yep, we just had it. So we're announcing the winner on this podcast. It's Serena. Woo!
Woo! Ow!
The next one in about 3 months. So just join as a member, and you'll be automatically entered in the raffle to win a bunch of cool stuff, including my book.
Yes, and a free video game gift card. And you can submit a question for the podcast. What else? Oh yeah, a discount for Jerk Proof Your Relationships, a really wonderful course we've mentioned on every podcast episode, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, apparently we're designing our next side quest, so stay tuned, says Gita.
Love it.
We have nerd breaks every weekend. There's still something different. And I know Gita has been working on some awesome role-playing, what is it called? He's dungeon mastering.
Yes.
Cool.
Very good times.
Yeah, so join our Facebook group to find out about our events. What else? Are we feeling nurtured?
Yes, I am.
I'm feeling nurtured.
Yeah, I always feel energized after doing these. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. I always say full presence is like the best thing you can give anybody else. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grateful to be here.
We ready for hugs? We invite you to put your arms up and give yourself a hug if you so feel the desire. Give yourself all the love you give other people when you hug them. Bye.
See you next time.
Next time.
Bye-bye.
Done.
Was that the mark in the movies?
Closing wrap.
Yeah.